Welcome back, sports fans. In this segment, I will go over the Midwest region where the Fighting Illini are the top-seeded team. And they will play the Drexel Dragons in their first-round matchup. Drexel's been to the tournament before. I believe they even won a first-round game on one occasion. However, I don't think this will be their year to win another first-round matchup, as the Illini, in my opinion, are certainly a threat to go to the Final Four, and they're a definite threat to win it all. Very much so, in my opinion. So yes, I believe the Illini. I do believe the Illini will advance, and if they do, their opponent will be the winner of Loyola Chicago and Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets won the ACC Conference Tournament, which is probably why they're in the tournament right now. However, even if they beat Loyola Chicago, which I wouldn't be surprised if they did, I don't see them being strong enough to upset the Illini. And bear in mind, the Big Ten will have an advantage with all the games being played in Indiana as far as I'm concerned. The fifth seed in the Midwest are the Tennessee Volunteers, and they'll play the 12th-seeded Oregon State Beavers, who I believe made it to the final of the Pac-12 championship, or they made it to the final of the Pac-12 conference tournament game, or the final of the Pac-12 conference tournament, rather. I wouldn't be surprised if they knocked off the Volunteers. I'm not really clear on how strong the SEC was this year because the Kentucky Wildcats were so far down. It just wouldn't surprise me if the Beavers beat them. But my feeling is that I think the Volunteers will win that game, especially since I already have two other fifth-seeded teams losing their first-round matchups potentially. And I don't know if there's ever been a year where three fifth-seeded teams have lost in the tournament in the first round. The fourth-seeded Oklahoma State Cowboys will play Liberty, and I would expect that they would beat Liberty and move on to the second round. The San Diego State will play the Syracuse Orangemen. And that's a very interesting game. A lot of the prognosticators are thinking that San Diego State will go quite far in this tournament. And while that's a possibility, don't put it past Jim Boeheim and to get the Orangemen past them and upset them to move on to the second round of the tournament. The third-seeded West Virginia Mountaineers, will play 14th-seeded Morehead State. I do expect Bob Huggins and company to win. That's a very, very good team. 7th-seeded Clemson Tigers will play the 10th-seeded Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Rutgers is in the tournament for the first time since 1991. It's been a long time since Clemson's been in as well. I would expect that will be one heck of a matchup. It might favor Rutgers again with it being played in Indiana. That wouldn't surprise me. Clemson has a way, though, of avoiding upsets in the first round, being an ACC team. So that's going to be a very, very interesting matchup, to say the least. And then the second-seeded Houston Cougars will play Cleveland State, who are the 15th-seeded team, and I expect the Houston Cougars to win that game. They're a very, very formidable. Well, they're not formidable, but they had a really good season this year, and I would be surprised, very much so, if they didn't make it to the third round for sure of this year's tournament. And that covers all the regions for this year's tournament. I will be back in the final segment, and I will have some further predictions for what I think is going to happen, and I'll have some more information for you as best I know it in terms of the locations for the games. Stay tuned to stay tuned to N.C.A.A. Bracket Special on Ed's Sports Channel.